So we're gonna go over the 15 different high status body language positions and principles. When you enter a room, when you go somewhere, wherever you are, a high status person will always make themselves comfortable first. Okay, it's not necessarily a selfish thing, but it's basically if you're in a group of friends, you make yourself really comfortable first, and it gives everyone else around you permission that they can relax and feel good and comfortable also. All right, so number one, take up more space. Okay, low status people have a tendency to kind of like crouch. Okay, if they're sitting and there's a bunch of people on this couch, they'll find the spot where they can kind of like crouch like this, and they'll kind of ball up, and they'll let other people feel more comfortable, and they'll kind of ball up like this. And on a subconscious level, what they're communicating to the world is that they don't want to send all their energy out into the world. Okay, they don't necessarily see themselves as high status, so of course they're not going to want to do that. High status people, on the other hand, think that their energy is the fucking shit, and of course they want to share it with the world. So they're going to take up more space simply because they're sharing that energy with the world. So number one, take up more space. Okay, you're not sitting like this. Make yourself comfortable, but take up a little bit more space. Number two, I call it crotch gathering. Okay, but basically, guys who lead lives of, they have a lot of sex and they fuck a lot of girls, or maybe they have one awesome girl who just loves to have sex with them, or they're just high status males. They have a tendency to just draw attention to the phallus region, let's call it. Okay, so that might mean that when you're talking with a girl, they might just have one thumb in their belt loop, like so. So they might be talking to a girl, and instead of their hands just being out, they might have one thumb in a belt loop here, just kind of hanging out. But the hand there is going to subconsciously draw attention to this area. Call it crotch gathering. So maybe their hands are more here, right? It's like hanging out. Or maybe when they're sitting down, their legs might not be like this, but maybe they sit like this, okay? One of my favorite people who does this is Russell Brand, okay? If you ever watch any of his interviews on YouTube, he'll go on, the David Letterman show, and he'll be sitting on the couch. Everyone else sits like this, but he'll be sitting there like this, right? And what does it signal to every single girl in the audience? Okay, there's a reason the man won Shagger of the Year 3 years in a row in Britain, okay? Draws attention, phallus region. So that's number two. Number three, and this is probably the most powerful of the 15. I was actually reading a biography the other day on Marlon Brando. I'm a big fan of, badass. But there was a quote from Mary Tyler Moore in this book, and she was talking about how before she was even famous, that she had, with a couple of her friends, sought out to go to one of his filmings just to meet him and probably sleep with him. But she said when they saw him walk out of his car to a filming area or whatever, just watching him walk 20 feet, she said the way she described it was the slowest, sexiest walk that she had ever seen in her life. Okay, so a lot of guys out there are like, what do I say to make a girl like me and all this shit? What do I wear? His walk did it for him. Okay, so the key point I want you to take away from that is you need to slow down your movements. Okay, high status sub-communications largely include slower movements. Okay, people who are nervous, fidgety, not confident, don't believe in themselves, they're gonna move around really quickly. I almost can't even do it anymore right now because it's so weird for me. But you want to basically cut all your movements in half if you're a guy who moves too quickly right now. So that means even when you turn to look at people, when you're walking, when you're working, when you're moving, whatever it is, as you're moving around, just move your movements, change your movements to be about half as fast as they go right now, okay? And that Marlon Brando thing is really cool because we're going to talk about the walk. Having an amazing walk is a very high status thing. It's actually, we're going to dedicate an entire module to it, so keep that in mind, okay? Number four, in response to the environment, to noises, to things going on around you, you as a high status male are kind of non-reactive to those things. Remember module one, you're non-reactive to those things. I'm talking to a girl, we're having a good conversation, I hear sirens going on, a few hundred feet away. I'm not turning to look at the sirens, okay? I'm not ruining the moment because something outside of my reality is going on, okay? I'm gonna stay right there with her, and you know what's gonna happen? She takes her cues from me. So we're talking, she's not looking at the sirens either. She's gonna stay in that moment with me because I'm not reactive, and I'm saying we're staying here. She stays there with me, okay? That is a high status behavior. That also means you wanna be aware of your little fidgety movements, okay? So a lot of times, you might start moving a hand when you get nervous, or a foot, or things like that. Start being aware of those things, correct them. If you notice yourself starting to get fidgety, fix it. Be okay with being still, okay? Being still is a very high status trait. Only you make you move. Put that down here. It's funny. Number 5. Generally speaking, you should just be leaning back most of the time. Leaning in, a very low status trait. I talk about it all the time, but if you send a guy in to go talk to a group of girls and he's spewing gold, it's just gold goodness flowing out of his mouth. It's the greatest lines and stories ever. And they're laughing their asses off, whatever. If he's leaning in while he's saying this genius, they won't be attracted to him. Because leaning in, kind of like geared in, is a very low status behavior. But if he's saying the same things and he's leaning back and they feel some subconscious urge to lean in towards him, changes the whole dynamic. They actually feel attraction for him. So generally speaking, you want to be leaning back most of the time. That means when you're standing, that means you want shoulders back, okay? When you're standing up, when you're walking around, you're not going to be hunched over, chin down, looking down. Looking down is a sign of low status. Looking up, chin up, sign of high status. Shoulders hunched forward, your life sucks. Shoulders up, back. I'm confident, I love myself, my life is amazing. Okay? Communicates two totally different things. Shoulders back, chin up if you want it. If it helps, imagine you have that string, right? You almost have a string from your spine to the ceiling in a straight line, kind of holding you up, and that's how you're moving through the world. Number 6, generally speaking, you want to be leaning against things when you can. Okay, so I should demonstrate this to you right here. See me behind the couch. But if I'm talking to a girl and we're standing here and I happen to have a wall right next to me, it is a high status behavior for me to lean against the wall. Okay, every picture you've seen of James Dean isn't him standing up just like this, right? He's fucking leaning against the wall. Got the crotch thing going on. He's right here. Leaning against something and her leaning into you. High status behavior. Number 7, having a room in front of you and a wall behind you is a high status behavior, okay? Generally speaking, if you were to go back to caveman times, and we got the whole cave at a cave party, we're all caving around having a cave time, there are certain threats that could come into that scenario, kind of like fuck you up, right? There's a lot more danger back then than there was now. So the leader of the group, the high status guy, he wouldn't put himself in the middle of the room. So when you're in the middle, you're at danger of things going on behind you. You can't see everything. But when you have a wall behind you and you have the room in front of you, okay, when you have a whole room in front of you, you can see everything that's going on. You are kind of taking charge of that situation. But you, on a subconscious level, you're just simply communicating to the whole room and to everyone there. High status male. Number 8, I just got a question about this recently where a guy was like, how do I talk to girls in a loud bar or club without me having to like lean in and scream to her because I know I'm not supposed to be leaning in. And I kind of explained this to him. This is something I do for years. My friend Christian Hudson kills it with this. Simply, when you're talking to a girl in a loud bar and whatnot, and let's say you're leaning up against the wall, you're talking with her, you're leaning back or something, but maybe you have something to say and you want to make sure she hears it, okay? What you're going to do is you're going to slowly, okay, so moving slowly now, lean in, whisper it into her ear, say it into her ear, okay? And then when you're done, you're not going to stay there. Whisper in her ear, go back to leaning back. And now she's going to come into you and she's going to whisper in your ear. And that's how you actually communicate in loud places in a high status way. Number 9, you generally speaking, you want to make, sit down here so you guys can see this since it is about eye contact. High status male will make strong, powerful eye contact when he's talking with the girl, okay? But when she's talking to him, he will make less eye contact, okay? Because she has to work a little bit harder for his attention, to hold his attention. So, I used to think about this in numbers. I just kind of do it naturally now. But when I'm talking to a girl and we're kind of like flirting or hitting it off, when I'm talking to her, I'm looking right through her fucking soul. I'm like, boom, right there, okay? But when she's talking to me, I'll look at her maybe 50, 60% of the time, and then, I might be looking elsewhere and like, interesting. What'd you say? Okay. And it's kind of like she used to work a little bit harder for my eye contact and for my attention. And that simply communicates more high status. Number 10, generally speaking, okay, and I don't want to turn you into a psychopath, okay? Note that here. But low status people will laugh at someone else's jokes even when the joke isn't funny. Imagine a boardroom with 10 employees and one boss at the head of the table. The boss makes a bad joke, but since everyone is his, he's superior to everyone, they're all his inferiors or whatever, they will laugh at the joke even when it's not funny, simply because they see him as the high status person and them as the low status. They feel like they have to laugh even when it's not funny. So I don't want to say don't laugh, okay? Because you should be laughing when you're hanging out with people and whatnot if something's funny. The general rule is basically if you truly think something's funny, then laugh, okay? If something's funny, fucking laugh. But if something isn't funny, do not fake laugh. There's a lot of fake smiles and a lot of fake laughs that people put out there. It's a low status behavior. I want you to cut those out from your behaviors now, okay? If something's truly funny, laugh. If you really want to smile, smile. But don't give any of these fake smiles, okay? Cut that shit out. Just cut it out entirely. Number 11. A big part of high status communication is how you emote and express when you are talking, okay? It simply means that you have, we call it a wide animation of presentation. So when I've been talking with you here and teaching you here, you've seen my hands move. They move out a lot. I'm talking about this is huge. And now you're on your path. This is a big deal. I use a lot of arm stuff and facial expressions and whatnot to emote and to express, okay? And those are high status behavior because I feel comfortable sharing all my emotions with the world. I'm strong enough and vulnerable enough to do it. I don't care. I love it, right? So I want you to do the same thing. What you shouldn't be doing is there shouldn't be obnoxious movements. It shouldn't be too big, okay? And if you can, it's something you're gonna have to work on. You may have noticed that. I do it a lot, but everything is very smooth. It's very controlled. Okay, this comes off as high status. Now you don't want to become a robot and there's this, you know, there's people I know who do this and it's very obvious that they're trying very hard. Okay, part of high status is that you're relaxed and you're not trying hard. But the more controlled that you can come off in your expressions and your presentation and whatnot, the more high status it's going to be. Next. There's a guru that I read all of his fucking books. He's fucking awesome. Named Osho. Okay, really smart dude. He's kind of Eastern philosopher guy. Has a long beard, wears crazy clothing. He's awesome. Had 100 Rolls Royces too, which is highly ironic. But one of the things that he does, if you ever watch an interview of him on YouTube, just search O-S-H-O, Osho, is that he has these interviews that people did from him almost 20 years ago where he would be being interviewed by someone from some Western culture and they would obviously be trying to like poke holes in his philosophy and his lifestyle and stuff. And while he's being interviewed with them, he doesn't blink. They would ask him a question and he would just stare at them for up to 30 seconds without blinking. And then he would answer the question. And you can even feel it right now. Just as I'm looking at you, just not blinking. There's tension there. It builds tension, okay? And when there's tension in a situation, the person who's most comfortable with that tension and has no problem with it is the high status person. So he would literally, I assume he wasn't a student of social dynamics, but in this interview, because he was breaking rapport with this person, which is a high status behavior, he wouldn't blink. And he would make them feel really uncomfortable. And you know, you don't have to take it that far, but just understand people who are low status blink a lot. People who are high status blink less often because they're much more comfortable with the tension. All right. Let me give you a couple of tricks here. One little thing that we do is when we're talking with someone, the person who leaves that interaction first usually has more power. So if you're on the phone with a girl and you're having a great conversation with her and you're going to take her out sometime, you don't want to just talk and talk and talk until she's like, okay, well, I got to go. I guess I'll talk to you later. And then she's the one who leaves first, okay? Because it leaves you with that kind of empty feeling in your stomach that she kind of left with the power. So you want to end the conversation first, right? It's something I teach. But also means when you're talking with someone in person, the person who leaves the conversation first usually has more power. But generally speaking, if you're in a conversation with someone and in that moment you want to kind of give them the feeling that you could leave at any moment, right? You're kind of like a fleeting form of value, whatever the hell you want to call it, is a foot trick, okay? When you're talking with someone, if both their feet are pointed at you while you're talking with them, they are invested and interested in the conversation, okay? When they're ready to go, when they feel this urge where, you know, I don't really want to talk to you anymore, but there's something else I'd rather be doing, which is like a powerful kind of thing to feel, they'll start turning a foot outward. They might even start tapping it, but they're going to turn this foot outward and they'll be talking to you like this, and they'll be pointing in the direction that they actually want to go. They want to leave now, okay? So what I started doing, you know, when I would be talking to a girl, let's say in a bar, right? And there's all kinds of things going on, all kinds of like shiny objects that could steal her attention at any moment. Well, I want to hold her attention, right? I want her to feel like I could leave at any moment, that I'm the valuable one in this interaction. So what I would start doing is I'd be leaning up against the wall talking to her, and I'd have one foot pointing away from her the whole time. Like I could fucking leave it any minute. And you know what happened? It's so subconscious, but they react to it. They respond to it. And then they start fighting for your attention. She starts, we'll be talking about something, like, she's talking about some sorority thing back when I was in college, blah, 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 blah. My foot goes out, and all of a sudden she's like, okay, I have to tell you the greatest story ever. And she starts pulling out the big guns, right? All of a sudden I can leave, and now she's got to tell me about the time where she saved her sister from a drowning shark or something like that. Sharks don't drown. Her sister was drowning. Anyways, that's not important. Point is, point that foot away, all of a sudden they get this subconscious feeling, this person could leave. Okay? This person could leave. Now, last thing to finish up here is just a couple different seating positions, a couple high status seated positions, and a couple high status, standing positions that you could be in when you're sitting down at waiting room, dinner, airport, vacation, beach, office, dentist office. I don't know how to sit high status in dentist chairs, so we can't really talk about that. But everything else, okay. So a couple high status positions that you can be seated in. One of them is simply, legs crossed, kind of spaced out, crotch is kind of out there, right? Big thing is, notice the difference in the status, how it looks if I have my arms here, kind of not taking up space, and if I have them here. Or even if I have one here, and I have another one in this phallus region, right? Same thing. Another way, obviously, open the legs up, boom, high status position, sharing my energy with the world. It's another way. Another way, again, make yourself really comfortable at first, taking up space, showing off your crotch, whatever it is you're doing, you're open, okay? The key principle here, of course, is that you make yourself comfortable first and you take up your personal space. Do both those things and you're gonna be fine. Now let's talk about standing. A couple important standing positions. Watch me move furniture here. So, a lot of guys have been talking to a girl and they're like, I don't know what to do with my hands, like how am I supposed to stand? Okay, so you have to understand that the most confident of your fingers, okay, you actually have fingers that are more confident than others, are your thumbs. Okay, if you look at modeling and stuff like that, you'll always notice that there's some focus on the thumbs with the hands when someone's standing. Either the hands are in the pockets and the thumbs are out, okay, because this right here is less confident than this. Okay, so the thumbs will be out and the fingers will be away, or the thumbs will be in and the fingers will be out. Either way, it's high status, okay? So either this or this or this. Okay, never hands totally in the pockets, ever. You can put them in the pockets, thumbs are out, or just thumbs are in. Okay, you can loop them in here too, you can do that. You can put them back here if you want, thumbs out. Okay, that's what you do with your hands. Okay. Now a couple of high status standing positions, of course, taking up more space, make yourself comfortable at first. Arms crossed, it's not necessarily a bad thing. If you're networking at a business event, this means closed off, don't talk to me. So, don't necessarily want to do that. But if you're talking to a girl and she's trying to earn you over, win you over, then yeah, this is fine. Show me something. What you got? Okay, that's not a bad one to be. Of course, leaning up against anything at any time. If you see me talking to a girl and we're kind of flirting, hitting it off, you'll see me standing in this position most of the night. Do it all the time. Again, if you can wall, you can do James Dean, one leg up, chilling. Okay, the point is that all your life, you've probably felt like there are certain guys out there who are high status, confident dudes, and they're the ones who stand this way, and you don't. When the truth is, they just chose from a young age, listen, I'm just gonna be that dude. I'm just gonna be that dude. And they made that decision to claim their own personal high status. That's what they did. You're at a later age now, that's fine, but now it's your time to make that decision as well and claim it now for yourself as well, because the rewards are quite fucking awesome. All right, so you have it there. You have you had all 15 of the different high status body language techniques and principles. Tomorrow, okay, we're gonna talk about 4 specific techniques to make these high status body language principles and signals stick and click in your subconscious, okay? Now, one of them is the exact way that I learned and internalized this stuff myself, so we are going to go over that as well. Now, there's a lot of information here. I'm gonna have you watch this video more than once, but we're gonna talk about that tomorrow. For now, I'm just gonna chill on this couch in my high status seated position. I will see you motherfuckers tomorrow.